you for joining us. So I'm going to make quite a semi-short presentation of the program. And then after that, you can ask as many questions as you want. And hopefully I'm going to be able to reply adequately. So my name is Ludovic Coupaille. I'm French. Just a bit about myself before we go. So I joined the department and the section in 2010, so that's 12 years ago. I've been trained in France at the École du Louvre in art history and anthropology of art, but also at la Sorbonne in archaeology, and in the UK at Norwich, the Sainsbury Research for the Arts of Africa, Oceania, and the Americas. I'm an anthropologist of art originally, but always interested by object. And I did my field work in Papua New Guinea on those very weird objects that are massive yams, tubers that were decorated. They are quite famous in the anthropological literature. So I went there to try to understand a bit what this type of practice meant for the people, but not only them, how they were cultivating those yams and how they were displaying them and how they were part of very complex, elaborated relation with their environment, both social, but also political. I did my original fieldwork in 2001, 2003, right after 9/11, gives you an idea, and completed my PhD in 2003 and worked at the Musée du Louvre, in Paris at the Musée du Quai Branly. I contributed to several exhibitions. So my main interest is really about objects and how they are made and how we engage with them. And that's what led me to be recruited here in 2010, as I was saying, as part of the material and visual culture section, and also which now have become also the material, visual, and digital culture section. So I'm just correcting because I realized that in my presentation I forgot to put visual, which is bad. So my presentation, as I said, will be about the presentation of the program. So let me share my screen if I can do that. So that's the actual screen. And if you can confirm that you see it, that would be amazing.
Yeah, oh, great.
Okay, I'm going to move the little icons of you guys and do a bit of that here. Right, okay. So how people make things and how things make people. That's basically the motto of the Material and Visual Culture Master Program here at UCL. And as you can see in the range of images just below the title, we are dealing with all sorts of contexts, from the International Space Station to, we used to deal also with a heritage site. Some of us still deal with a heritage sites such as Stonehenge or anthropology of food or fashion, etc. And also we expanded to the digital. I've put here the picture downstairs, not the name, of the various member of staff that you may encounter next year, depending on their research availability. So let me start with the organization of the program. Teaching is organized around term that starts in beginning of October and ends in mid-December, and then beginning of January and start at the end of March. And then you've got also a range of activities in term 3, and I can get back to that later. Basically, when you join the MVC program, there are a series of courses that are compulsory. That one, which is the core course, are called also critical issues, and it lasts for 2 terms. The way in which it is organized, you usually have 1 hour lecture on Mondays in general, then 1 hour seminar, which is usually, it's actually 3 hours, but when the first hour you've got one group and the second hour you've got the other group. And on the Tuesday, you've got 1 hour practical, and I'll get back to that. So that's basically 2 to 2.5 hours a week for the 2 terms. And then the course is organized in 2 parts. The first part is about the roots, the introduction to the main sources and main thinking in terms of anthropology of material culture. Often this course is a sort of reminder, refreshers for those of you who had anthropological background, with a particular focus on the main theories and authors that have built, if you want, the field or the subfield of material and visual culture. So it's 3 lectures. Usually the first one is about the origin of the thinking about material culture, museums, and 19th century anthropology, and its colonial, of course, and masculine and white origin. And then in the second part, we go to the structuralism, post-structuralism, and then more recently to thinking about the Anthropocene. That's the first 3 weeks of the class, and then after that you go into the main course as a meal. You've got 7 weeks that are spanning the second half of term 1 and the entire term 2, which are based on the 7 main themes that the member of staff are researching, and I list them there. So we deal with, you've got the subject and object, which deals basically with the transformation of how we thought about material culture. You've got techniques and technology, which is about thinking about how we make things and the role of objects. And it goes from ads or axes, hammer, to actual mobile phone or printers. So all those type of technical objects. You've got modernity and consumption. Space and place, I should have put plural here. It's both about the building environment and theory of landscape. Then you've got a session on the anthropology of photography and visual culture in general, then anthropology of art, and to conclude, in a way, meaning. And then you've got in between sessions on dissertation and portfolio. One thing which is important about the theories and thinkers, it's often based on indeed particular theories that we are interested in. Those topics are research-based. That means that 2 things. First of all, some of us might go back to the origin of these thinkings. Others are really directly focusing on what they are currently researching. Most of our teaching, if not all, is based on research-led teaching. But so you are really at the heart of what we are working on. The second thing is those sessions on theories and thinkers are also tasters for the modules that you can choose aside those main course, and I'll get back to that in a minute. The second compulsory course is a course on method, which is compulsory as well, but also common to PhD and master's students. And it's usually first term, and it's 3 hours, and you've got an hour lecture, which is really about how to, more than a reflection on the method or the theory of the method. So that gives you the practical tools actually to do your field work. And that is very good because it fits well with the course on theory and thinkers, the part of the MPC course, because basically the way in which that works is every topic, subject, techniques, modernity, and etc. You've got a mini ethnography to perform and to present for your practical. And we'll go back to that at the moment of the description of the assignment. So as you can see, going back to the method course, as you can see in the list of topics that are explored, you are actually dealing with, presented with how to for the main tools of ethnographic research, including parts on ethics, which are becoming more and more important, as well as data analysis. And the third series, of course, is for you to choose. It's called the 3 modules option that you can choose either in the first term or the second term. So there is a question of balance here of workload. You don't want to choose 3 modules in the first term because you're going to be overloaded with work. So usually students choose 1 in first term and 2 in the second term, which are all seminar-based. That means that they are not proper lectures. They are based on readings, which is really the core of that course, and then discussions in class during the seminars with the lecturers, sometimes with guest specialists that can be invited, that can give a presentation as well. Those module seminars are often also taught at undergrads level. So if you have, for example, my own course on the anthropology of techniques and technology, I've got 2-hour seminars with the postgraduates, but I recommend them to audit the lecture, which is a 2-hour weekly lectures that follows exactly the same structure, roughly, than the other one. So while those lectures are absolutely not compulsory, some module might say you might want to audit the lecture. So in fact, you get more. You get, instead of having 2 hours seminar, you might have 4 hours, contact hours, as we say, for options. So I'm giving you a range, a quick list of the different options that were available this year. And not all of them might be available every year, depending on our research availability. As some of us are going on research leave for a term, and it depends when they are, and whether they are in term 1, term 2 also depends on the timetabling. But as you can see, I'm giving you all the options of our section, not only material and visual culture, but also digital. So you've got informatic culture, anthropology of data, religion. I'm not sure it's going to run next year, so you need to keep yourself updated. The built environment, design anthropology, infrastructure, art. You've got also the module option, which is called key ideas in social anthropology, which is really about providing you, it's common to all section, which is really about following the main theories. You've got some time current themes in material, visual, digital, and design anthropology. This year there was smartphone. The anthropology of fashion, which is a new course, which is not necessarily about handbags and shoes. Be careful about that. It's really about clothes and appearance cross-culturally. You've got visual culture, which is taught by Chris Pini, heritage and museum, and techniques and technology. Right. So that's a basic structure, but also, as you can see on the bottom left, you will have also some session on dissertations and portfolio. That leads me to no, doesn't lead me yet to the next slide. You can also choose option from other programs within our department. You need to check because sometimes there are some requirements. So you've got a whole range of practical option in the public anthropology, but also you've got digital, social anthropology, medical anthropology that can also offer modules that you can choose. And we can discuss during the Q&A session about how you choose options and why you should choose certain options than others. In terms of assignments, you've got the MVC core course assignment, which is based on 3 academic essays. So it's academic writing with bibliography and etc., which are, one is after in the middle of the first term, which is a way for you and us to assess eventually yourself, to assess your level of academic writing. And then at the beginning, the second one is at the beginning of term 2, and the last one is at the end of beginning of term 3. You also got a portfolio based on the 7 themes of the core course, key thinkers, where you're doing subject and object and etc. And that portfolio is based on what I was mentioning in the beginning on this mini ethnography that you have to prepare and discuss during the practical session. And you can choose from these 7 themes, you can choose 2, out of which you're going to make a specific portfolio that's going to be assessed as well. And then you've got a group work at the beginning of term 3, which is a virtual exhibition based on the practicals that you have chosen. So that's an opportunity for you to work as a small group of 3, 4, 5 students, depending on the number in the cohort, which is quite an interesting exercise. The second type of assessment are obviously the assessment for the option modules, the 3 that you have to choose. It varies depending on the options. It's usually 1 or 2 assignments due at the end of the beginning of the following term. So if you take an option in term 1, you might have an assignment at the end of term 1 and the second assignment at the beginning of, at the beginning of term 2. Usually you've got academic essays because this is still, even though that's a taught program, we are training you also to think academically and from an anthropological perspective about those essays, but also the other type of module. You can have logbooks, portfolios of pictures, exhibition reviews, etc., etc. It depends really on the modules. And the third assignment, which is often considered as the most daunting, but also the most fun and probably the most important, is the dissertation. So you're going to choose you're going to propose that's really your own baby, that's your own research interest. And of course, you're not going to be alone in developing that. You're going to submit a research proposal. Now the students are submitting their research proposal. You're going to be allocated a supervisor that corresponds to the themes that you might also choose a supervisor depending on their availability. Of course, you can have that supervisor, or you can have a second one that you have put at a choice. And then during the term 3 and summer, that's the moment when you're going to do your ethnographic fieldwork. It can be anywhere. It can be anything, provided that, of course, you fulfill the ethics and the risks assessment. And it's really your own interest. And depending on what you want to do after that, that can be a prelude for your PhD, or if you want something that you can present for if you're applying for a job, for example. It's about 15,000 words, about 50 pages. It's with illustration. It is, an academic piece of writing. You need to talk about the ethnography. There's a bibliography. And of course, you're not going to be alone doing that. Another element which is quite important that might be interesting for you is the very rich research culture in the department. And I'm not talking only about material and visual culture, but also about the other section, social anthropology, biological anthropology, medical anthropology, etc., etc. And every week there is a section seminar, and for you it's usually on the Monday between 5 and 6:30. And it's usually followed by a social event. And sometime even during those seminars, we are invitee, people who are coming from other universities, even sometimes other countries, that can be very famous researchers that come and give us a research seminar on what they are researching now. Sometimes it's also a member of the department. And then there is a series of question and answer. Those are attended by all master students in our section, digital and material and visual, but also PhD students. And those social events are a great opportunity to, well, engage with a glass of orange juice, apple juice, or other type of beverage with every member of staff who are there, and of course other master students and PhD. We've got also a whole range of research and reading groups that are meeting occasionally. You can totally attend any of them. They are updated every year. It's about really reading a particular text or addressing a particular question. It's very relaxed, very informal. You can create even your own if you have a particular interest in discussion. And usually they are attended by, that can be very small group of 5 to 3 people to bigger ones. And then we've got all the centers here. Ooh, they're not appearing in the order. The Center for Research. Those are platforms and a hub of research led by members of the staff that are focusing on particular core set of concern. And those usually organize, they can organize conference, they can organize also regular, semi-regular meetings where people are presenting or discussing issues or reading. So there's an entire range of these, as you can see. The other great thing, and you guys are going to be lucky because the student this year couldn't have access to that, is the ethnographic collection, which is curated mostly by Delphine Mercier, but also by Heidi Geismar and occasionally myself, where you can actually engage with the 4,000 objects that are part of the collection, ethnographic object. You can actually get some form of voluntary job, which we call voluntary curatorship, which gives you really opportunity to develop your, not only to engage with the object directly, but also develop your skills, your in object handling, museum preparation, and etc. And we provide you after that with, of course, reference if you want to work in any museum. Because of a leak, in the collection last year. The collection has been moved temporarily, and you have no idea how lucky you are, because when you're going to come back, hopefully the work's going to be done. But the ethnographic collection room is going to be bigger with more space, and that's going to be great for working there. The last thing I want to talk about, which is quite important, is the academic support. The support structure, both academic and pastoral. Academic is of course about asking questions about reading or theory that you haven't really understood, or you want to explore, or further reading. And pastoral is to support you to face any type of issues, personal, that can affect your capacity to learn and study in the best condition. So the first port of call, and that's you're going to be allocated from day one, a personal tutor who's going to be your first port of call, which is a member of the academic staff. That could be me, that could be anyone from that's going to be really your Mr. Miyagi, if you know the reference, or your Yoda, or your Brian of Tarth, if you are like this type of popular culture references. And they are, depending on how you engage with them, you've got one meeting minimum per term, but depending on you and on the availability of the staff, you can meet them much more than that. One thing which is very important about academic staff is we all have 2 hours per week of office hours that are clinic. That means that you can go and speak to all member of staff, regardless of the section, to ask them about advices or further reading or explore some questions. You just need to book that in advance. The personal tutor, though, is really the one who is the first port of call for pastoral care. The second important person that you're going to be in contact with, a member, is going to be your dissertation supervisor, with whom really you're going to work closely, developing your idea for your research, guiding you in the field work, guiding you in the writing, reading draft at various stages, and making comments, and helping you really to produce that amazing piece of research. I have to say that's one of the parts of the job that I like the most, really. I mean, but also I've been personal tutor. For pastoral, for people who have difficulty, like me, who are not native English speakers, in academic writing, I'm okay. But, English speaking is still a bit shaky, as you can realize. And I remember the first year I was taught in England, could have done really with that departmental writing tutor. But that's also not also about how to write in English, but also help you how to write from an anthropological, and how to insert theory with data, with ethnography. And we've got that person which is there. And they've got also clinic hours, and you can book time with them. There's another support also at the level of UCL, but we've got one within the department. And finally, for pastoral care, as I mentioned, you've got a very, very good structure here. You've got the postgraduate departmental tutor, which is a member of staff that makes the liaison with the different services, student support and well-being, disability service, and etc. And I've got twice, and also you've got the teaching and learning administrator, Toby, who couldn't be here with us. Who is also the first port of call for all admin questions, but also from the pastoral care, it can directly. We've got a student advisor here, which makes the link with the student and support and well-being service at UCL that can help you to deal with all sort of programs. So as you can see here, to conclude, we've got an entire sort of, you've got a program which might not look like much, but in fact, you're going to see that there is many opportunity to engage directly with us. We're not like distant lecturer that you can come and, can't go and disturb because they are producing the next big theory in anthropology. No, we are, like every other human beings, we have our qualities and our flaws, and we are all very approachable, and you can come and talk to us at any time to help to develop your idea. The master program is really something which can both lead you to a professional development, but also to develop your own idea for a PhD, either with us or in another university. It happens that sometimes the supervisor you did your dissertation with, and if you want to continue, you say, okay, I would like to continue this idea and do a PhD. I've got somebody who did a master last year on traditional printmaking in UK and those craft people, and she's currently applying to do a PhD with me. So you can see this sort of development of relationship with the type of research that we are doing is also at the basis of what we teach during this program. And I'm done. Thank you.